Thank you, everyone. I'm Eric. I'm one of the co-founders of Encord. Encord is a data layer for physical AI. So we work in all different types of physical AI, in robotics, autonomous vehicles, drones, manufacturing, logistics, et cetera. And what's very exciting about where we are is that we get to see the frontier of AI in the real world across many, many different domains. But I personally didn't start there. Originally, I started in physics. So my background was in particle physics. I was doing research there. And one of the great particle physicists is Murray Gell-Mann. And he has a quote that's always stuck with me, which is, everything that's not forbidden is compulsory. So what this says is that in particle physics, if physics says it's not prohibitive, it not only can happen, it will happen. So I've taken this forward in starting an AI company, a technology company, and it's worth thinking about what in AI is forbidden and what is compulsory. So we're currently on a trajectory in AI to what Dario Mode says will be a country of geniuses in a data center. So what problems will this country of geniuses be able to solve? Well, you take this country of geniuses, this superintelligence, and you put it in a box, and it will solve the greatest mathematical puzzles of our day. So I'm sure it'll prove or disprove the Riemann hypothesis. It'll be great at literature, so it'll write poetry that will bring even Stoic technologists to tears. It'll be a better developer than all of us. It'll win every coding competition. But this superintelligence in a box, it won't be able to learn how to ride a bike. So this is a demonstration of Moravec's paradox. And if you spend a lot of time in the Bay Area, which I do, a big question is the trajectory that we're on going to bring us to AGI? Right? And AGI is it's a very abused term, but I think it can be useful. However, this question is the wrong question. It's not if the trajectory that we're on will bring us to AGI. It's which AGI will it actually bring us to? Because AGI will actually happen twice. It'll happen once in the digital world and once in the physical world. And digital AGI is AI systems that will command and control all of our information systems. So everything that we see now with the scaling of LLMs, that will bring us to digital AGI. But I think a much more interesting and a much more compelling vision of the future will be in physical AGI, where AI systems command and control the actual physical world around us. And this will be what takes us from the society that we live in today to a society of science fiction, to one that we can't even imagine. But digital AGI will happen first, OK? So why will it happen first? Well, there are three core concepts, three blockers, which I put into three equations that we need to satisfy before we get to physical AGI. So we'll go through the three equations. They're kind of heuristic demonstrations of what we need to conquer before we get to this immense vision of the future. So first equation. This equation is probably the most important equation of the decade. Literal trillions of dollars of economic activity are sitting on the back of this equation. It's probably the thing that's propping up the entire global economy. I'm talking about, of course, the chinchilla scaling law. So it's a pretty simple equation that I'm sure most of you know. There's only four terms. There's the loss term, which, very roughly speaking, is the kind of accuracy rate of the model. The lower the loss, the smarter the model. There is an entropy term, which we can't do anything about, so we will just ignore. But then there are two terms that we can do something about. One is the scale term. So this is this n. As the model scale increases, the loss goes down as a power law of that scale. And then there's the data term. So as data increases, the loss also goes down as a power law of the data. All right, this equation was empirically derived about half a decade ago, and is the implicit assumption behind hundreds of billions of dollars of CapEx spend now in AI. But what does this tell us about physical AI? This is for pre-training of LLMs, Why is this relevant? Well, one, we are starting to see actual scaling laws in physical AI, which is quite exciting with the work of NVIDIA and others. But I think this equation is a great demonstration of the immense head start that digital AI has had compared to physical AI, because they have what I call the great data subsidy. 300 trillion tokens of free data that was compiled organically over decades on the internet, tens of millions of books, basically all of human written language was there almost for free for these models to ingest and establish a base level of intelligence. And unfortunately, physical AI does not have the same luxury. There is no internet-level scale of data that we can use to train in these physical AI systems. The largest robotics data set is 270,000 hours. It's about equivalent to my lifetime. So that's one person's lifetime versus all of human written language for LLMs. But there is a lot of video of the physical world, right? There's the YouTube data set, which doesn't even fit on the slide. It's like the size of the sun. So why can't we just learn from that? Well, physical AI now, it can't just learn purely from the pixels. Digital AI has the luxury of having the same substrate of prediction and training. It's tokens in and tokens out. Whereas physical AI systems, they actually have to act in the real world. They have actuators and sensors. But now there's a lot of this work in world models. That should solve this problem, right? Solve the data problem. Well, this brings us to our second equation. So what does chaos theory tell us about physical AI? So equation maybe not everyone knows is the Lyapunov exponent equation. This is for small perturbations in initial conditions for certain systems. They can grow exponentially in time. So that means small differences in initial conditions, they will have vastly different global trajectories. So this is the butterfly effect, right? A butterfly flaps its wings in Japan, and 6 months later, there's a hurricane in Florida. So this also is exhibited in pretty simple physical systems. The double pendulum, right? A single pendulum is a problem that a first-year physics student can just solve in a classroom in their first semester. But you add one more mass to it, and suddenly you get completely chaotic, unpredictable behavior, which you cannot condense into a set of parsimonious equations. Reality itself is incompressible. And what's more is that small errors, because of the Lyapunov exponent equation, they compound exponentially in time. So if you get a small error in measurement wrong, that will lead to a very large error in the future. And models are filled with errors. Models are approximations. Every model is wrong. Some models are useful. So a world model that has these approximations for these chaotic systems, they are by definition wrong. They will be much more wrong in time for these chaotic systems, which means world models can never fully capture the physical world. This is just thinking about the chaos of the real world. Does that mean world models are completely useless? No. It just means, well, first, I'm talking about physical AGI, so general intelligence across all physical systems. The second is that world models will be necessary, but not sufficient. What you need to complement is continual measurement to actually reflect reality. Because these small errors will lead to large errors, you need to continuously ping the real world to ground back to the actual real state. So we need physical grounding for these systems to actually work. We need actuators. We need sensors. Physical AI cannot live in your head. Digital AI can. All right, so why don't we just deploy a bunch of physical AI systems into the real world? Well, this brings us to our third equation, which is the societal risk criterion. This is used by nuclear safety regulators. It's used in the EU. What does this equation tell us? There's three terms. There's the F term, so the frequency of a failure happening. There's N, which is the number of people harmed in that failure. There's C, which is some societal threshold. And there's alpha, which is the societal risk aversion. And in practice, regulators tend to set alpha to 2, which means that for an event that harms 2 people, it should happen at 1/4 of the time of an event that hurts 1 person. So for an event that hurts 10 people, it should happen 1/100th of the time. These things are not linear, they're quadratic. Which the bad news for physical AI is that this N term per error is much higher than in digital systems. So physical systems, they're on our roads, they're drones above our head. They actually have the ability to properly harm us if they aren't controlled properly. And what the societal risk criterion says is that the physical AI system reliability needs to scale quadratically with the failure. So quadratically against digital AI systems. And you can see this subjectively in how this manifests. Digital AI failures, they go into memes and LinkedIn posts. Physical AI failures, they literally make headlines. And I was at a picnic recently, and I was talking about Waymo and how great Waymo was. And the person at the picnic, the only thing they knew about Waymo was the time that it drove through an active crime scene. So this is what we're up against in the physical AI world. All right, so to summarize, what these equations tell us, what we need to conquer, is that compared to atoms, bits are cheap, bits are more predictable, and bits are safer. So does this mean, so AGI will type before it walks. So does this mean that physical AGI is impossible? No. It means it's just harder. So how do we get around this? How do we solve this problem? Well, physical AGI, there's a lot of work being done in architecture and algorithms, in hardware and control systems. But the scaling laws tell us that there's actually a very simple answer. There's a very simple recipe, which is the data. And importantly, closed loop systems with the data. So you need models to go out, act, measure, and learn. And you need to do this continuously. Simulation will be a complement to this process, but what chaos theory tells us is that simulation is not sufficient. You need these AI systems to actually be out in the real world and learn continuously. This is what we do at Encord. We've worked with hundreds of teams to build this loop. And what we find from our experience is that the cycle time, the iteration cycle, is proportional to the probability of the AI system actually being successful. So the faster that this loop is, the more likely that your AI will actually work. And the good news is that there's enormous progress that's being made in this field. Now, with robotics, some of them here, these things are actually starting to get into the real world in production and creating these closed loop data systems. And what's very exciting for me in particular with that is that robotics is actually, it's not the end game for physical AI. We might be converging to the end game of robotics, but robotics is just the beginning of physical AI. It's the bellwether. It's the canary in the coal mine. This is the proof of concept of us building physical systems that can continuously interact and learn with the physical world. That's actually what we're looking for. If this works in robotics, then this opens up the floodgates to all other physical systems that we work with. So physical AGI, what this will mean is that it will mean complete disruptions and transformations in every physical system that we know about, in chemistry, in biology, in engineering, in aerospace, in scientific discovery. This will completely transform our world in ways that we cannot imagine. We'll get to digital AGI, and that will be great, but physical AGI will be what takes us to Star Trek, to science fiction and above. I can imagine a world where there's swarm intelligence that optimizes all the energy efficiency of every building and all the traffic, and there's 3D printers that instantiate any type of object, buildings within minutes, right? This is the dream that physical AI, AGI can bring us. And it sounds far-fetched, but 10 years ago, talking to a robot, in a conversation, that also sounded far-fetched. So physical AGI will bring us to this dreamed of a prompt to reality. You have an idea, and you can actually instantiate it in the real world. So that's the dream. That's the type of AGI that I'm looking forward to, one where there brings human abundance, prosperity, welfare, healthcare, everything if we do this right. But there is one more equation to walk through, which is that happiness is reality minus expectations. And now there's quite a lot of excitement and energy and hype in physical AI, which is bringing this expectations term up. And the only way for us to stay happy or to get happier is if we also work on the reality term. We have to bring that up faster than our own expectations. And that means being realistic about the bottlenecks that we're seeing in these physical AI systems. So the bottlenecks in data, in chaos and unpredictability and measurement and risk. But we can solve these things, and I'm 100% confident that we will solve it and that we will bring physical AGI. And why is this? Well, all the equations that I went through, they showed why it's hard, not why it's impossible. And again, everything that's not forbidden is compulsory. Physical AGI is coming. Thank you. I'm Eric. Thanks, everyone.